Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Tucker. We are thrilled that you're here, and we hope that we provide a lot of valuable insight and information today. I know that just the networking beforehand was of great value. I met a lot of great folks, and I hope you did too. The whole point today is to learn something about the business community, but particularly the manufacturing and industrial aspects of Tucker. So we're going to have some discussion, and of course the tours in a little bit. We'll tell you more about that as we go along. But thank you for being here. I have to begin, of course, by thanking the people that made this possible. We've sort of dreamed it and looked forward to it for a long time. We've been planning and gathering for about, I guess, 8 or 9 months since the first meeting. And the thanks begin with Lori Wexel, who you saw here a little while ago. I don't know where she's gone now. Way in the back. Lori runs this event center, which I bet many of you had no idea was here. Much like some of our industry that we want to expose you to today. It's a great place, and she's been tremendously, not only generous in providing the place for us to have our meetings as we led up to today, for today's event, but just a tremendous partner, and the person who, when I said that I wanted to do a manufacturing day, but I needed somebody to sort of pick it up and make it happen, she was the one who came forward and volunteered. So thank you very much, Laurie, for all your help. Our two primary sponsors, in addition to the City of Tucker, we're very fortunate and quite blessed to have 2 different community improvement districts that operate within the city. We are sitting in the Tucker Summit CID, recently renamed. Tucker Summit CID, we'll hear more about, but it spans particularly this industrial area up and down Mountain Industrial, and the Tucker North Lake CID, which includes the North Lake Mall sort of regional commercial area, all down to and including downtown Main Street, Tucker. So we're going to hear some more from them about their CIDs, but thanks for your sponsorship and your work putting this together. Decide DeKalb is here somewhere. Discover DeKalb is here. Organizations that promote economic development, tourism, commercial development in DeKalb County. They've been great partners. Discover DeKalb is actually located in Tucker, so thank you for that. And the Tucker Business Association, I know lots of friends who are here. Honey Panda Creek, the current president, but many others who have served in that office and worked on that board to promote business generally around Tucker. All our partners in getting today together and happening, so thanks to all of y'all. We really just have a couple of purposes. We're on a tight time schedule. We already delayed a little bit because of the social and networking time was so good we didn't want to cut that off. Just a few things that we want you to go away from here today with. If you're a business that's thinking about locating here, if you're a business that's been here for a long time, the first thing we want you to know is we want you here. We value you and your contribution to our community, your contribution to the balance that is our community. I talk about a place where you can live and work and play and pray. Clearly we're focused on the work aspect of that today, but we want you to know we're building, we didn't have to start from scratch. It's been a place. We're nurturing a community where if you work here, we want you to know you can live close to your work. If you live here, we want you to know there are good jobs right in your backyard. All those things so that when you have time not sitting and commuting, you can contribute and be involved in your church and in your school. You can get to dinner with your friends at a reasonable hour and all those things. That's the kind of community we want Tucker to be. And so if you're a business person, a business owner, a property owner, we thank you for what you do as part of our community. The other big message is that we are working together, and we're going to continue to work together. These CIDs, these other economic development partners, the city itself, us as individuals, we are collaborating. I hope you saw a little bit of that. You're going to hear some more today. Our goal is to make you successful. And we're going to work together to do that, and we think that will make us stand out for you who are professionals in the real estate world and it's looking across Atlanta. We want to stand out in that way. We want you to remember Tucker's a place that values business, and we're going to work hard and together to see that you're successful. So I want to introduce, I'm going to introduce one person first, then we're going to have a panel discussion and answer some questions that some of you have submitted and asked over a period of time. So I'm going to begin by introducing Stephen Bridges, who's down here, is going to be on our panel, but he's going to begin with, he's the director of JLL and a real estate expert, particularly in the industrial manufacturing segment. He's going to give a real quick presentation just with some numbers and data about what's here in Tucker and what the trends are sort of going forward. So I'll let you have my microphone and you can show us what you got on the big board.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. Again, my name is Stephen Bridges, and one just quick short story is that my grandfather owns a building off of Stone Drive, right off a mountain, and he was a hardwood flooring distributor. And when I started out in real estate, I worked with multiple people in retail, office, and industrial. And I thought I picked industrial because of the people. It's much nicer to cold call. Sorry for business owners that brokers cold call you all the time. But I thought it was much easier to cold call on people that run manufacturing plants and warehouses. They're just much nicer than attorneys and retail. There's just the mystery of that. You know, why does a restaurant keep failing in the same spot, but new restaurants go there? So anyways, I love industrial. I think it has a lot to do with my grandfather working in his building, which again is in Tucker. So I'm excited just to talk about some recent statistics and what the area is looking like. I have not covered, like I think it was hoped for, all of Tucker and all the different CIDs, like getting up to North Lake, because I'm mostly focused on industrial. So what you'll see on the next slide is an overview of just some highlight transactions. For those of you that were at the recent Tucker CID, sorry, this is somewhat of a repeat. I do have something new following this slide for you. But I think the big change that's coming up is Ackerman selling their portfolio of properties that they bought from Patillo to Blackstone. That should be closing in, I think, 3 to 4 weeks. I think that will continue to change the face of Tucker and the way business owners operate. It's just going to be a new personality. Blackstone currently will be the largest industrial REIT in the U.S. And they've got multiple different names, but overall they're Blackstone. So in addition to that, I think spec development shows a sign of a real estate market that's thriving and needs more space. You go back to the recession, vacancy was 12%. 12% of all buildings available. Today in Stone Mountain, it's 4.6%. And the Atlanta average, with all the big box buildings and everywhere you go within Atlanta Metro, it's 5.6%. So Tucker is doing better than the rest of Atlanta. And in terms of spec development, you can see the green thumbnail kind of closest to 78. That spec building right on Greer Circle, it's sold for $73 a foot. So right here, it's on? Okay, great. So right here, $73 a foot in December, not long ago at all. That is a huge number. The average square footage sales price for Tucker is about $50 a square foot. That's also, higher clear heights. If you look at clear heights over the Tucker area, they're much lower than the typical newer product, but that's going to keep going up as new buildings are getting built. Speaking of new buildings getting built, right next to Carrier and Pepsi off Rock Mountain, fronting Ponce de Leon, a developer's got land under contract. They're planning to build a brand new spec building, hoping that new tenants will come in, high ceiling heights, if they can get it done. And then also Rick Spiller, one of my great competitors, he's got a client that's got a site under contract with a user owner, and hopefully they'll get that building developed there. Then you've got a really older building right near Stone Drive where my grandfather's building is. Old, funky, low ceilings, side load, but it's got a big lot. It's almost like a truck terminal. It sold in February for $70 a square foot. Then you have a couple other sales that happened for $50 a square foot. And then there's one other portfolio that happened in Royal, South Royal. And I think that's another sign that when portfolios are selling and large investors are entering the market, that's all a good thing. All right, just a snapshot of the statistics on the next slide. Yeah, so how many buildings have been delivered, or how much square footage? 190,000 square feet, but 279, almost 280 have been absorbed in 12 months. That's because there was more vacant than what was developed. And then we got a rent growth of 6.6%. If you're in Tucker, then you might say, oh, that's not good, but it is good compared to the rest of the city and what's happening. The other things I would say about Tucker that's better than the rest of the city is affordability, just in general real estate, but I think that also includes residential. And then in addition to that, that's correlated to labor. You got a diverse amounts of labor. All right, we'll go to the next slide. So in the last 12 months, going back to first quarter, since this quarter's not over yet, there's 79 sales over this corridor, which includes Tucker. Again, average price $50 a square foot. The vacancy when the building was sold, so a lot of the buildings that are selling, they're occupied. They're not, if you're a user owner and you're buying a building, sometimes you're buying a building that's already occupied or it's an investment sale. Next slide. Just some more statistics. Again, I like this one because you can see the lowest, a really rough building, built in 1930 with a 7-foot clear height. That's why that thing's selling for so cheap. The average though, $50 a foot. Still though, your clear height 17.5 feet, pretty low. Built in 1982. And then 1985, you got a little bit higher price, but it's also a smaller building. And that's what, and I think this is something else to point out. The average square footage of the building sold, 35,000 square feet. I would argue maybe Atlanta's more like 50. And then a really crazy number that sold, $32 a foot. I think this is from a secondary or third party database. I know that square footage, price per foot's off, but I think everything else is right. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I'll try to get through it quick for you. Thank you.
Good. Well, let me thank you, Stephen. And yes, he's going to join our panel because there may be some other questions he can address as he comes along. I want to introduce the rest of our panel to you. I'll start at the far end. John McHenry is the Community and Economic Development Director for the City of Tucker, the one and only that we've ever had, and he's been doing a great job, gets all the credit for all those great numbers you just saw. I think most of you have had occasion to meet John along the way. Coming back towards us, Stephen Bridges. Sure, yeah, thanks, Ron. You just met Stephen Bridges. Right in the center, we're really especially pleased to have Tasha Hill here. She's actually with one of our tour hosts today, a company called ThermoPak, so she's a business resident of the city, a member of the CID, and we're proud of the work that they're doing. You're going to hear some more from her in a few minutes. Emery Morseberger is, Emery's a lot of things, but today Emery runs the Tucker Summit CID that I mentioned where we're sitting. So are you the executive director, the president? Okay, he's the president. And his counterpart in the Tucker North Lake CID, Matthew Lee, is here. And so they'll be able to talk to you both as part of the panel and as we go through the day about what happens in their CIDs and why they're such a valuable resource for businesses. So, Emery, I'm going to start with you since we were sort of talking about your part of town. What can you tell us about your CID and what happens there and why it's important to your business members?
Tucker Summit was formed in 2011. We have 300 buildings and roughly 150 owners. In 2010, the larger owners in the area decided that the county wasn't taking good enough care of them and that they needed to band together to improve the area. So in 2011 we formed, and since then we have dramatically improved the overall curb appeal of the area. We've reduced the crime rate 80%, and we are working on a number of intersection and road improvements. I want to reach out and thank the City of Tucker, who has just been a phenomenal partner here. Hopefully you noticed that the streets are paved here. Lewis Road is paved, Mountain Industrial is paved, Stone Ridge is paved, even Rock Mountain is paved. So there's been a huge amount of paving, working together with the City of Tucker. We work together with DeKalb County. CIDs don't get anything done unless they partner with whatever governments they're working with. We work with 300 different buildings and 150 different owners. And that translates into almost 1,000 different businesses in all of those buildings. And we get calls all of the time for all kinds of help, and that's what we do. We do whatever our owners want us to do. And we're next door to Tucker Northlake, run by Matt, and we have a great partnership that is going strong. Thank you.
Great, and Matt, that leads right to you. Give us a little introduction to the Tucker Northlake CID, where you are, and what the characteristics of your area are.
Sure. So I brought some slides. I kind of tell this a little bit
Are we
backwards.
going to make our panel get up and run off the stage again? Or?
No, everybody can stay right where they're at.
Let's see if we
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to get the slide up. So the Tucker Northlake CID, we formed in 2013, so just on the heels of what the Tucker Summit did, and it has made a tremendous difference for the businesses in that area as well as the community as a whole. So I like maps and I like history. So I brought a map from DeKalb County from 1962. Now in 1962 there was more cows in DeKalb County than people. This was a marketing map that was put out by a bank. The areas in yellow here, you'll notice they're very similar to what you saw on the other map. These were marketed as industrial areas. These were pastures that had been purchased. And I mentioned Patillo, they were very wise in forming an industrial corridor. There was rail lines that came off, and this was the foundation for what we have today. They were marketing Tucker at that time as the land of golden opportunity, and I still think that's true today. So how did that transfer to what we have today? So here's the map of Tucker today. The blue area is the Tucker Summit CID. The green is the Tucker Northlake CID. So you can see all of that yellow area was incorporated and expanded upon for commercial development. And this is really the heart of the city. And it makes a significant difference in the impact of what's going on in the area. So business license-wise, I'll show you a map of that in just a second. But brick and mortar business licenses, 97% of them come from businesses within either CID. That's huge. The dollar amount on that is about $3.5 million. Last year in 2008, the city of Tucker's expenditures was about $5.5 million. So 3/5 of the city's budget this past year and what they spent was funded by business licenses. That's significant. We make a huge difference on the city of Tucker. So here is the boundaries of the Tucker Northlake CID laid over this, kind of a stylistic drawing here. And just to talk a little bit about some of the stuff going on in the Tucker Northlake CID, as Frank said, we've got the entire Northlake area, including property that's outside of the city. But what's interesting is more and more of those property owners are choosing to come into the city of Tucker. Boxer property came in, they've got some office buildings. Briarcliff Village came into the city of Tucker. And just earlier this month, Northlake Mall announced that they have requested to be annexed into the city of Tucker. They see good things happening here, and that is significant. And that will have a huge impact on the redevelopment plans that they have. Over in the downtown area, we have good things going on in there as well. We've got a redevelopment plan that's happening. A lot of things in downtown Tucker are great, and we want to expand on those. One of the great things coming to downtown Tucker is the first bank to open, the community bank to open in the state of Georgia in a decade. Charles DeWitt is heading that up. Charles, can you raise your hand? So we got a banker in the room back here. That is a big deal. Now Charles has had another bank that he was very successful with and did a great job and sold that, and now he's moved on to do another one. Other places would have liked Charles. Chamblee would have liked him to open, but he chose Tucker and he chose the corner of 1st and Main, and I think that's significant and will be a great boon to our town. With 285, we've got 3 exits. That is also significant to have that. People call 285 Main Street DeKalb, and it is, and we're seeing greater density over there. We've got the ability to build up to 12, 15 stories in that area, so you're going to see higher density over there. Higher density office brings in better restaurants, they feed off each other. We also still have the manufacturing over there. We've got Inland Seafood. They can see 285 from their offices. They wanted to be that close. One of the buildings we're going to visit today is Sonnen Battery. They chose to be off 285 so they had access to the airport, to 78 and other places. So it's a great location. As far as business licenses go, this is a map from the city of Tucker, a great partner. These are all the business licenses in the city of Tucker. You'll see a lot of them along those 2 corridors. But there's also a lot of people who own their own businesses and operate out of their homes, and they do so successfully in the city. So here's a regional map. You can see Tucker over there, both CIDs. So the presence of Tucker is increasing. We are the land of golden opportunity today, and this is exciting times to be here with all of you. That's it.
Well, that's a great overview. Thank you for that. So I'm going to turn to Tasha because she's one of those dots in there. A very valuable, very important one. The ThermoPak's been here a long time, been in its location a long time. It was not initially part of the city of Tucker. It's been a member of the CID for a long time. Give us just a quick thought or two about being a business in Tucker, in the CID over the last few years as all of this has developed.
Okay. Hello. Once again, I'm Tasha Hill, Vice President of Operations for ThermoPak, and I've only been at ThermoPak for a little over 2 years. But I will say, being a part of the CID has brought three things to me as a leader of a business in this area. First and foremost, I feel valued as a business. I have connection to the mayor, I have connection to the CID, I have connection to business development, and I just feel valued. And secondly, is the connectivity. I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than just running a business right down here on the corner that some of you will visit later. We come and we meet, and I can talk about and I can find out about what's happening in the city of Tucker through the CIDs, and I can speak to those things when I'm talking to our employees and trying to recruit and retain people come to this area. And then third, our employees. There's a great workforce here. And if I can't draw people from the city of Tucker, it's close enough where I can draw people from Clarkson and Gwinnett and other surrounding counties. So I love the location, and our employees, they feel safe in this area. And that's a big deal when you're working in an industrial park. One of the things about my business is we have two sides. We have the commercial side where we are co-manufacturing and we make products for other companies, but we're also a company that has to be able to respond to disaster relief and war. So when I need employees, the government can call us and say, hey, we need you to ramp up production, and we can go into a 24-hour production overnight. And I have to be able to pool employees or work with staffing agency to bring the employees immediately. And here in Tucker, we were able to do that in order to respond to the 2017 hurricanes. There were 3 major hurricanes. And within a week, we set up a whole nother operation in our facility, and we had to have 200 additional employees in 5 days. So that's been my experience.
Fantastic, thanks. So, John, your job with the city is to recruit businesses into the city, but maybe more importantly, to make and keep happy the businesses that are here. What are you seeing in the way of trends as to companies being interested in Tucker and the kinds of things that Tasha mentioned?
Great, yeah, there's just a ton of interest in the city of Tucker. I think we all know that. Specifically to industrial and manufacturing, what we're speaking about today. And I know I saw Rick Spieler here earlier, and you could speak to him about these 2 projects. But we have the spec building on Greer Circle, roughly 200,000 square feet. And then we had a recent rezoning over the last 12 months for another large industrial space. So that really speaks to the fact that there's new development happening in the industrial sector. Of course, we have a lot of interest from a residential, and you all are probably very well aware of that, and the interest in developers that we're seeing. And then just point out some of the projects over at Northlake that I'm sure you've seen. Northlake Senior, 90 units of senior housing. We're going to have our ribbon cutting, and I think by the time we have our ribbon cutting, they're going to be fully leased. And then next door, Old Hickory House is staying, which we're very happy about. But at the same time, we're going to get 245 new apartments over there. And that's right across the street from Meridian, which is a great retail power center. And then Matthew touched on the very exciting fact about Northlake Mall. So really all over the city, you're seeing that interest in residential, industrial, and commercial development. And then I think one last thing is that we've got a lot of affordability here in the city of Tucker. We've got an area where you can stay and live and have a nearby job and do everything that you need to do, want to do right here in Tucker.
Awesome. Steve, let's go back to you for a second. You talked about the upward trend in occupancy and rental rates and purchase rates and all that. what do your clients look for when they set out and they're looking for a place to locate a manufacturing or a distribution logistics kind of business? What are they looking for before they see everything? What are they telling you, and are they finding those things in Tucker?
Yep, so I think number one concern or focus is labor. So we'll look at where companies having issues with labor. So think about Brazelton, that market they've got 3.1 million square foot buildings that were built spec, a 636,000 square footer, 450 in the last transactions that I've worked on that are market-wide searches. They completely rule out the Northeast because of labor concern. They're busing people up from DeKalb County actually to Brazelton. So I think labor's number one. I think number two, it's always kind of focused on what's most important to the user or the tenant. You know, where are their clients? How does it operate logistically? So I would say Stone Mountain. Tucker is it's so close in to the large population of customers. You can get to Savannah Port easily. You can get to the airport. Just location. You know, I know that's an old phrase, location, location, location. The other thing I would add is that there's also, with the less developed census tract, there's tax incentives. So if you hire new employees and new jobs and you're in that less developed census tract, there's the pink layer that I showed earlier, you get $3,500 per new job, and that's a huge benefit. Anybody that's wanting to come to Stone Mountain, Tucker.
Zip codes.
Tucker.
Write it down.
So yeah, I think tax incentives, that's a huge benefit. And then one more thing, I would say a CID is really important. I am a huge fan of a CID, and I think when you're in a CID, you just get more representation with local government. You get partnership. You get to come together and talk about what you're working on and what you need to fix, and that doesn't happen if you're not in a CID.
Yeah. Thank you for the segue, because my next question was going to be for our CID guys. Let's take a step back a second, not assume everybody knows what a CID is. Those two maps that you saw are legally defined districts, community improvement districts, where the commercial property owners in those maps volunteered to tax themselves some more for some specific purposes. Why would they do that, Emery? What do they get out of the deal?
The property owners wanted more than what the local government provided. In fact, our CID formed before Tucker formed, and DeKalb was ignoring us. We weren't getting the security we needed. We weren't getting the maintenance of the roads that we needed, and the common areas looked rough. So the owners alone could not deal with those issues. They needed an organized front, and hence the need for the CID, which they came together and formed and began working in 2011. They have been very happy with this. The CID, in addition to signing up people voluntarily, can kind of sweep in people who weren't planning to sign up, who basically did not want to pay, but were in the midst of people who were wanting to pay and improve. And a number of those people who we swept in back in 2011 have come to me and said, thank you for making this happen. Thank you for helping to get the area looking good. Thank you for cutting the building break-in rate from 1 a week to about 3 a year now in these 300 buildings. Thank you for dragging us in. So they love us, and basically we do pretty much whatever they want, and it's a win-win partnership with the city of Tucker. Thank God Tucker's here, and with DeKalb County.
All right, Matt, your CID is a little bit different in character. You've got a more diverse mix of retail and commercial and industrial and a variety of things. Tell us what you do with the money your taxpayers pay in that CID.
Well, I think everything's got to look attractive, right? You want to spend your time in a place that's clean and attractive, a place that's safe, and a place that's easy to get in and out of. So one of the things that we do is we do street sweeping in the area. We do about 33 curb miles of street sweeping every month. and it makes a huge difference. We maintain the landscaping and the flowers on Main Street. I was driving by this morning and the crew is out there taking care of that. We maintain several islands throughout the area. It's right of way that the county wasn't putting as much into it as perhaps we would like. We also maintain landscaping for GDOT, La Vista Road and 285. We do the landscaping there. It makes a significant difference when someone pulls into an area and it looks clean and attractive. It's a place they want to spend their time. We've also invested in public safety. Ours is a little bit different versus break-ins. It's more people having a sense of feeling safe. Tucker's unique in the sense that you've got the Tucker precinct, but also the DeKalb County Police Headquarters is right here. And both of those are in our footprint, so we have a lot of cars coming and going. Some of them aren't looking for criminals, but the criminals don't know that. They're here, and the presence makes a difference. We've invested in a lot of partnerships for studies to leverage money. One of the studies that I talked about a moment ago was the partnership we're doing with the City of Tucker for a downtown master development plan. We know new development's coming. We've got to make sure that it's done right. We don't want to mess up a good thing. We do small partnerships as well. Sometimes things don't cost very much. We partnered with the fire department to repaint all the fire hydrants in the city, in the CID. We've partnered with the Atlanta Regional Commission on bigger studies. We just signed on for a study with all the mayors across the top end for transportation. As you may know, GDOT is putting in expressway ramps, elevated across the entire top end. Well, the mayors from Smyrna and Tucker got together and decided maybe there's some better options to use that, whether it be light rail or bus rapid transit, and so they put together a feasibility study. We're partnering on the next phase of that to ensure that North Lake is tied in on the top end and really all of Tucker. So it's just a great opportunity to use those dollars in ways that make sense for the businesses and the footprint.
Thanks. I was going to mention the partnerships as well. With the city in place and operational and budgeted and all of that, we're able to leverage each other. So when we do not only a downtown master plan, we can co-fund that and work together. In the Tucker Summit CID, there are transportation improvements, including at the ramp many of you might have used this morning at Mountain Industrial and 78. Already have been some improvements. There are some visions for bigger, better, easier access for all of the local businesses on and off there. We fund those studies together and we work together along with DeKalb County and GDOT and MARTA if that's appropriate, and all of those kinds of things. So it gives us a lot of leverage, and I really want the businesses who are here and the brokers and representatives who might be looking for a location, we think this is key to our long-term success. And the people that you see here work daily in their jobs doing what they do, which benefits all of us, but also on organizations like this that advance the whole area. So thanks for what you do. We are close to the end of our time. I'm going to go back to John McHenry just for a second, and then I'm going to give you some instructions about kind of what's next and dismiss us to go do those things. But John, tell us kind of what's next. How is the city's infrastructure going to develop in terms of our relationship to businesses? I think you had a staff member or two you wanted to introduce for everyone's benefit.
Yes.
Give us the last word on how we're going to work together as we leave here.
Well, I definitely want everyone to know Billy Phillips, who is in the back and raising his hand over there. And Billy is our business outreach coordinator. And that was a new position that we started about a year ago. And the sole focus there is on our businesses here in Tucker. Tucker recognizes that the strength of our community is our local businesses. And Billy's there to basically fix any of your problems. Right, Billy? No, but it really seriously, when it comes to anything zoning, permitting, code enforcement related, we want to be there to be able to assist folks. And I think the city has really delivered those services in a proactive way that's focused on our businesses and also our residents. And I think it again just speaks to that overall collaboration that we've had with our local CIDs and businesses, and we're all working on this together. And ultimately, and we say this a lot in our meetings, that's the Tucker way, where we can all work together and we can all get the good results that we want to see. And I just say that this is really just the first Tucker Manufacturing Day and just the beginning of greater economic development efforts. So look forward to continuing to work with you and continuing to grow.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks to our panel. Would you all thank them for